And while Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is emplaned for India on Wednesday, and any minute now we are hearing that he will be landing in Ahmedabad. The invitation is from Prime Minister Modi. As he took to Twitter, Albanese said that this visit demonstrates the commitment to deepen the links between the two countries and to being a force for stability and growth in our region. Albanese is on a 4-day visit to India from the 8th to the 11th of March. He is bringing a delegation of ministers and business leaders to India, as Albanese has also spoken about India and Australia and our rich friendship underpinned by common interests, shared democratic values, the bond between our people, and an affectionate but fierce sporting rivalry. This is on the invite of Prime Minister Modi, where he will spend a day in Gujarat, a day in Mumbai, and then a day in New Delhi. And on the 4th day is when he will depart for Australia. On the agenda are trade ties and also strategic discussions, where he said that trade with India presents Australian businesses and workers with tremendous opportunities for growth. And as India and Australia have had a historic opportunity to strengthen its relationship with India, he's also assured that India and Australia are in a better place because of its large, diverse Indian-Australian community. Prime Minister Modi is also set to watch the match on day 1 with his Australian counterpart. This will be the final test match of the Border Gavaskar Trophy in the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. And day 2 will be when the Australian Prime Minister will be in Mumbai. In fact, in minutes from now, we'll start getting you pictures as Prime Minister Albanese of Australia is set to land in Ahmedabad shortly from now. We also have several reactions coming in on this. Let's listen in.
Today I leave to go to India, where I will visit Ahmedabad, Mumbai and New Delhi. This is an important visit. It will be my 4th meeting with Prime Minister Modi, and one of the first things I did as Prime Minister was travel to the Quad Leaders meeting in Tokyo on May the 24th of last year. Australia and India are important partners. We share common values. We are both vibrant democracies. We have an interest in improving our economic relations. India is currently our 6th largest trading partner, but they can be much larger in the future. And here in Western Australia, we see the importance of the Indian Ocean. The truth is that India, along with Indonesia, will grow to be the 3rd and 4th largest economies in the world in coming years. That presents an incredible opportunity for Australia. And during this visit, I'll be giving at least 7 speeches over the coming days, talking about the opportunities which are there to have increased people-to-people relations, to educational transfers, increased two-way investment, increased engagement between our business communities. And I think it is an enormous opportunity for Australia. India is
And while that is what Australian Prime Minister Albanese said about his visit to India, he will be landing at the Ahmedabad airport and head straight towards the Sabarmati Ashram, where he will be paying tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. And as per the official schedule that has been shared by authorities, Albanese would also be attending a cultural event at Raj Bhavan in Gandhinagar that has been organized by the Gujarat government. Also a part of that event will be Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, Governor and other dignitaries. Albanese is scheduled to attend an event of an Australian university on Wednesday night. On Thursday, both Prime Ministers will arrive at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Motera where they will watch the first day play of the fourth test between Australia and India. And after that, they would leave for a few hours. There is high security deployment across Ahmedabad to welcome the Australian Prime Minister. Niranjan is with me on the phone line to take us through the details of this visit and what exactly the two nations are aiming at. Niranjan.
It will be the first in-person India-Australia annual summit that will take place during the Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese's India visit. A very interesting visit where they will be watching a cricket match. And we are told, in fact, we were trying to get a ticket for our journalists to even get in, but it appears that the match is fully sold out. It's the first in-person India-Australia annual summit, planned around the Australian Prime Minister's official visit from the 8th of March to the 11th. And at this particular annual summit, leaders are expected to take stock of the progress of the different initiatives between India and Australia and the special partnership that they share. The summit also lays a way forward for the new initiatives and enhanced cooperation in a diverse range of sectors between India and Australia. Summit was first held virtually in 2020, and this is also the Australian Prime Minister's first bilateral visit to India. This is Albanese's first bilateral visit to India since the Labour Party government was sworn in May 2022, and this visit aims to further strengthen the India-Australia bilateral relationship. Now, this also comes on the back of the different engagements that we've had in the exchanges, between both countries. And he's expected to arrive today. Anytime now he will be landing, and he's also then visiting the Sabarmati Ashram. A short while from now, he will visit the Raj Bhavan to participate in a holy event. So it's going to be a colourful event where the Australian Prime Minister will be a part of. He will leave for Mumbai tomorrow, and day after he's expected to take part in the ceremonial reception in the Rashtrapati Bhavan, which will be followed by a reclaim ceremony in the Rajghat. Now, the Australian Prime Minister will then meet External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. Comes on the back of the Quad meeting that was seen on the sidelines of the G20 between India, Australia, Japan, and America. He will also be meeting the Prime Minister at the Hyderabad House in Delhi, and will also be calling upon the Indian President of the Murmu in Rashtrapati Bhavan. So these are some of the engagements of the Australian Prime Minister in India. But what I can tell you is that at the cricket stadium, at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, the red carpet is being rolled out for both these prime ministers. A special one, given that the stadium there is named after the current prime minister, and it's going to be a special one as both prime ministers sit down to watch a few hours of the opening day. I'm not sure whether they will watch one session, watch 1 hour, 2 hours. We are told it's several hours. Could even be a session of the opening day of the fourth India-Australia test. India, of course, has gone on to win 2 of the tests already. The third one, of course, the Indian team got completely hammered. So the series is down 2-1. And the fourth one is really the clincher. Whether Australia wins it, if they win it, it's even Stevens. If India win it, they won the series. So it's very interesting what happens tomorrow. But nonetheless, it's going to be an interesting start tomorrow. Suesha.
Niranjan, continue talking to us because it is also important to understand how this visit is being viewed on the global platform and the geopolitical implications it could have.
Well, geopolitical implications, not so sure, because I'll tell you what's also happening is, we're just going through some of the headlines in the global media. For example, the media in the UK is hoping that, Anthony Albanese comes to India and tries to lecture India on human rights. That's one way of looking at it. And this is coming on the back of the Quad meeting that was held less than 10 days ago. So, you see, India shares a very, very special relationship with Australia. We have a special trade relationship with them. And on the back of that, this meeting comes. It's, they're also calling it 75 years of friendship through cricket. And these were some of the hoardings seen in the stadium complex that said 75 years of friendship through cricket. And, it's all decked up to be one big bilateral between India and Australia, one that starts with cricket in Ahmedabad, proceeds to Delhi, where Albanese, the Australian Prime Minister, meets the Prime Minister on a one-on-one. meets External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, and also goes on to have a courtesy call with the President of India. But the backdrop
I'm just being told that Abhishek is also joining us live, Senior Executive Editor Abhishek Kapoor, who's getting us further details on this visit and what exactly is planned through the course of the next 4 days. Abhishek, if you can hear me, I'm picking up that any time now, the Australian Prime Minister is set to land in Ahmedabad, and thereafter, Abhishek, what can we expect?
Okay, Suesha, so first up, this is the first visit of Anthony Albanese to India after he became Prime Minister in May 2022. But the two leaders, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Albanese, have already had 3 meetings, 2.5 sort of. The first one was, in fact, just a day after Albanese took over as Prime Minister at Quad and on the sidelines of Quad in Tokyo, because the Quad was happening at that time and Albanese took oath and reached Tokyo to be part of Quad Summit of leaders. And then second time they met on the sidelines of G20 in Bali, and then another meeting between the two when prime ministers, both of them had traveled to Tokyo to pay their last respects to the late Shinzo Abe, the former Prime Minister of Japan. So that's the background. Also, this is the first in-person meeting after the India-Australia partnership was upgraded to a comprehensive strategic partnership between the two sides in 2022, because there was this COVID break and then there were virtual summits happening between the two nations, and so this is the first time in person the two leaders would be meeting for their annual summit level dialogue. So that's the second significance. Third, this is the first time the two leaders are meeting after a free trade agreement really kicked in between India and Australia. Australia happens to be the first developed country in the world with which India has a new free trade agreement. It's called ECTA, actually Economic Cooperation Trade Agreement. It's not exactly full-fledged FTA, but still, with the ECTA coming into place, as much as 90 to 95% of goods in terms of value on both the sides become zero duty. And that's really going to give a kick to the trade between the two sides, which as of now stands anything between 25 to 30 US dollar billion. And in the next 5 years, the target could be making it about $50 billion. India happens to be in the top 10 insofar as Australia is concerned, its trade partners around the world. And in the case of India, Australia is about, I think, 16th or 17th largest trade partner. So that's the trade side. Also, Australia supplies a lot of critical minerals, or can possibly supply critical minerals in terms of renewable energy. And that's going to be one of the thrust areas when the two leaders meet. Apart from that, when you talk about geostrategic coming together of the two nations, Indo-Pacific, of course, is very important, and China being the elephant in the room. Remember, the Quad took shape sometime in 2007, and it essentially broke or became a non-starter because Australia drifted away from the Quad grouping and sort of went towards the Chinese side, or tilted towards the Chinese side. It's only post 2016-17 and increasingly belligerent and bellicose China that Australia did another turn of its strategic thinking and is back in Quad. And post that, this is going to be the most significant meeting insofar as deliberations on Quad go. So I think in that sense, it's very significant that Anthony Albanese is coming at a time when so much is happening around the world in the backdrop of the war in Europe and the constraints that it has caused on supply lines, supply chains, and the overall shortages of fuel and fertilizers that's causing a lot of havoc in the world in terms of strain on economies, individual economies, and of course the global economy. So it's very important that this meeting is happening. Suesha, Prime Minister Albanese lands in Ahmedabad, and that's also the cultural component because he's landing in Ahmedabad, and the traditional and very fierce rivalry that exists between India and Australia, as exemplified by the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And this is the final match beginning tomorrow, and the two prime ministers would be present there when the toss happens and would be watching the match together for a while before Albanese, of course, travels to Mumbai. And there also, remember the underpinning of an emerging defense partnership, because Anthony Albanese would be taken on board INS Vikrant, and that's going to be very significant.